Hello there, fans of Lights Thunder Action. This is Christopher Walken, and I am somehow Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thank you for joining us this week. It is Thursday. We are going to be talking She-Hulk episode 8. We're going to dive into all of the news, talking Wakanda Forever, Michael Waldron's Secret Wars. Apparently Superman Man of Steel 2 is in development. Who knows? And tomorrow, October 7th, is Werewolf by Night. We're going to dive in to that as well and so much more. But Garrett Blaney of Agents of Fandom will join us in the 6 o'clock Central Standard Time hour. And we're going to talk all She-Hulk. And finally, I have someone to talk House of the Dragon with. This is the longest cold opening I've ever done. So please enjoy this music while we share this on the internet. Lights Thunder Action episode 103 is here. We are bringing you nothing but the absolute best. We're going to be talking She-Hulk episode 8 and House of the Dragon episode 7. There we go. It is episode 7 in the second half of this podcast with Garrett Blaney of Agents of Fandom. And we will be discussing the new trailer for Wakanda Forever. And of course, Michael Waldron is now the writer of Secret Wars. There's so much to talk about. Why are we delaying this? Monkeys, play the music. Welcome to
LTA with
TCR
and JRB.
This is where the fun begins.
You're just not thinking fourth dimensional.
Slowest. Peter 03.
Num num.
I'm vengeance.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
I love you guys.
Hold on to your butts.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
Dude, I almost had you.
To that I say, all right.
Good afternoon, evening. Spooky season 2022 is upon us, and it is time for your Thursday night pick-me-up, where two Thunder Buddies dive into all things Marvel, DC, pop culture, IP, and the latest happenings in the film industry.
On the first Spooky Thursday of the month, Thomas and I are going to be joined by Garrett Blaney from Agents of Fandom to talk House of the Dragon. So Thomas will finally have someone to riff off of that won't be completely lost. We'll talk about She-Hulk and how Daredevil finally showed up in the show, and how his MCU entrance was exactly what we were hoping for and more. And we're also going to talk about our excitement levels for Marvel Studios' Werewolf by Night. But before we get to all of that, Thomas, where can everyone find our show?
We are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our Lights Thunder Action Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on Twitter and YouTube. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/Lights Thunder Action. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you don't want to look at our beautiful bearded faces, but you want to hear our beautiful bearded voices, JRB.
Find our beautiful voices on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Spotify. Be sure to follow and subscribe on those platforms while you're there. Leave us a review, preferably 5 stars if you will, and ask us a question in that review. We'll bring it right here and answer it for you. So now that everyone knows how to find us, we're here. We made it. You are a whole year older. Thomas had a birthday in the week since we last spoke.
Allegedly.
Made it another year around the sun.
We are now embarking upon the 32nd rotation about this gaseous ball that hangs in the sky every other day. And yeah, I'm 31. Life is I'm still alive, so that's pretty awesome. You know what I'm saying? It was a good birthday though. I all jokes aside, fantastic birthday. So much love was, posted on Facebook, Twitter. Everybody reached out. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It made the day a lot better. I started it off with some yoga, which is always fun. I love me some yoga. I love me some yoga. Made some new friends, watched Florida State football. It didn't go our way, but I watched it with my dad, so that was cool. And we fought the whole game, which is all I damn well care about these days. As long as we play football for 60 minutes. Doesn't have to be a victory. It is what it is. But had a lot of fun and then wrapped it up with board game night. I'm still undefeated in Clue. I'm going to let the entire world understand. Since I'm 15 years old, I've not lost a game of Clue. Since I got Clue on a flip phone on a Verizon flip phone back in whatever year that was, I was in middle school, and I learned the strategy of playing Clue, I'm undefeated. All I'm saying is
the most impressive trait about you, I think.
I got wicked hammered, forgot how to play my own version of my game, my strategy, and still won the damn game.
Still won. He can't lose. He literally cannot lose.
I'm on a hot streak, a 16-year hot streak.
Wow, that is quite the run.
I'm on a hot streak for over half my life. You have
been winning at Clue for longer than you even knew how to play Clue in your life.
Yes. That is true. I didn't learn how to play Clue until I was like 8.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty weird.
Yeah.
But a good weird.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm not really nearly as good at these mystery games, but I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. Actually, I had a lot of time to dive in deep on some of the news that we're going to be talking about today. And it's always good when I have the time to really thoroughly go through it and see what's going on. And there's a lot of exciting stuff that we're going to talk about, not necessarily just with the MCU either. This might be the most excited I've been in a while for something DC related. So I know you've teased it a couple times, but we'll get to that in a minute. But there's a lot of Marvel stuff that happened in the last week.
Yeah.
Most notably, I don't even know what the most notable thing is, but like I think possibly the most impactful was the new Wakanda Forever trailer. So we got another look at Wakanda Forever. This one definitely focused on Namor and what he's going to bring to the table, and we finally got to see him in action. But it didn't just show him; it still gave us a lot more insight into the state of Wakanda. We got a very nice piece of dialogue from Queen Ramonda, who was basically saying, it was this one instance where she was kind of whispering and she was saying, the people are thinking that we lost our protector and now's the time to strike, show them who we are, or however that went. And the first trailer was really powerful. This one was right up there with it, I think. Thomas, what were your thoughts on the trailer? What was the main takeaway other than the villain finally getting showcased a little more?
Yeah, that was all I wanted to talk about. Namor looks amazing.
He looks cool. He's got
the wings on his ankles, shows him flying. We are getting it. It's not called Atlantis. I cannot remember the name. Talokan. I'm gonna call it Talokan and see if it lasts. But we're getting Talokan and Namor versus the Black Panther and Wakanda, and that is a key issue, or like a war that happened in the comics that I read. I've been excited for that since the very beginning of Black Panther. I'm like, hey man, if they ever get Namor, we can build to that war. The war is here. They seem to be battling each other for something. Maybe Wakanda's trying to protect all of the surface world. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of fun. This trailer, despite keeping that sad tone and like the dread of like, we are being attacked, our protector is gone, we hear the whispers, and then at the very end we get a Black Panther landing. It is a female, a lady, if you will, and based on just the drawings on the face, I gotta say it's Shuri. I mean, we've seen those exact markings before on her, those battle markings, so I'm gonna say it's Shuri. According to some of the actors, Lupita Nyong'o, says we haven't guessed it at all on who's going to be the Black Panther. So, hey, maybe there's multiple Black Panthers, dude. Like, think about that. The Black Panther army, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. Maybe they won't limit it to just one this time. We still don't know exactly how they're going to say that T'Challa's no longer in this story. It might necessitate multiple Black Panthers for Wakanda going forward, especially since they're not a hidden society anymore. So you could be right. This could be one Black Panther that we'll meet in the movie, but not the only one. She might not even be Black Panther by the end of the film, but you're right. The markings on the mask definitely do seem to indicate it's Shuri. She's definitely got a similar build. It could be someone like Nakia, but I mean, whether or not Shuri is the Black Panther, I definitely think this one is supposed to resemble her. With the actors casting doubt on Shuri becoming the new Black Panther, who knows which trailers they've seen come out already. They don't know what we've seen as fans. I think that's a classic Andrew Garfield situation where he denied being in No Way Home. They're probably told, don't say anything about the new Black Panther until the new movie comes out. So
yeah,
I don't know if we can take that at face value or not, but sure looks like Shuri to me.
Same, yeah. Jumping over to some of the Easter eggs that we see, we have, I mean, there's a lot in here. There's Ironheart being introduced. We see her inside the suit. We see the suit itself coming together. The throne of Wakanda is washed. We see Namor breaking the glass, and having a confrontation with Queen Ramonda. We've got royalty battles going on, and then the feathered serpent god, they call him Kukul. I'm not even gonna try it anyways.
It's tough. It's a tough,
very tough. It sounds like they are merging Namor with that character, who is a comic character, but maybe they're not. Maybe he's misinterpreted as the serpent god and the feathered serpent god, and maybe the feathered serpent god is real. And I mean, like, honestly, that sounds like the Midgard serpent to Thomas. Yep, we're bringing it back to Thor. I always know how. But here's the one that gets me. Lake Bell is shown in this trailer, and I didn't realize that till I was reading this article. I love Lake Bell. She is the voice of almost every single one of my favorite characters. Anything she's in, I just hear her voice and I'm like, that's my favorite character. And then by the end, I'm like, oh, it was Lake Bell. No freaking wonder I love it. I'm so excited to see her in the MCU. At this point, I'm hoping she's a Skrull so she can have a longer journey and not be killed in this damn movie, because we need more Lake Bell in the MCU live action. So I'm very excited, but I don't really know what else to say on this topic at all. Like, what do you got before we move on? We have a lot of news to get through before
I
the
think
next 30.
The most pivotal part of this for me was the dialogue that was overlaid with this trailer. We heard from Queen Ramonda, we heard from Winston Dukes, M'Baku, but it was a lot of the focus was on Namor and how conflicted he seemed to be, and he almost seems reluctant in the way he's attacking, like he's just doing it to send a message. And I gotta say, I wasn't really intimidated by him until I saw this trailer. This really fixed the scope for me. And those winged boots, I was laughing for like half a second, and then I saw how quickly he was moving with those things. And that's no joke. So yeah, he's gonna be a real problem.
They're not even boots, man. That's on his skin. If you watch the birthing scene, that's on him. He's gonna be a mutant. He's a mutant. They're coming from everywhere, sir.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how they actually tie him into the bigger picture, but it looks like this is going to be a huge focal point for them.
He's gonna try and get he's gonna try and get. It'll hit me in a second. What is her name? The Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. He's gonna try and date her because they do it a lot.
Oh yeah. And with the Marvel relationships that they're introducing now, like what the one we just saw in She-Hulk, I'm excited to see more things like that occur.
Yes.
Because if we get a history of Sue Storm and Namor before she marries Reed Richards, that'll be a really fun layer to add to that character.
Yeah.
And then one other thing was Ironheart. I just wanted to point out Ironheart and how awesome her suit looks. We didn't get a full look at it, but there's so many parallels to Iron Man already that we knew that would come. But it's just so nice to see some Iron Man material again, dude. It's been too long. All right. What do we got next?
Up next, let's just go right on the next thing. I don't have a lot to say about this. The internet's pissed. What a shock.
I don't get why they're mad, though. I don't get it. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the internet.
We'll get into that.
It's the internet. Michael Waldron is now writing Secret Wars, and I'll tell you why. They don't like Multiverse of Madness. They feel that he blobbity 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 bloop. What they seem to fail to realize is that he had to come in, rewrite a treatment, then when Sam Raimi was brought in, rewrite it again and again and again and again.
Right.
I think they are missing the point. Like, I know some people who are like, oh, he changed Wanda and turned Wanda into like a raging evil psycho woman. I'm like, no, he
dialed it back a little.
And it's like, yeah, exactly. Thank you, JRB. He dialed back what Raimi wanted. He kept it within context of the MCU. So I'm excited. I love what he did with Loki. I love you can tell the things that he very much wanted to imprint on in Multiverse of Madness. All of the multiverse stuff in Multiverse of Madness, the 838 of it all, the bouncing around and finding different variants of a character, that is where you can feel Waldron's writing. And then there's a lot of other stuff where it's like, you can tell Waldron was involved, but this is all Raimi, baby.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It's weird to see this adverse reaction everyone's having, especially with how well received Loki was, because that's where you really see the impact Waldron has on these things. With Multiverse of Madness, there were so many other influences where, he was writing it, but how much of it was truly ideas that were original to his mind? It seems like there were so many different discussions had about Multiverse of Madness and so many different moving pieces, especially with adding a new director on so late in production. It seems like Multiverse of Madness was kind of just a mess in itself, and any name associated with that, are we just not allowing them to do anything else going forward? Or I don't understand the thought process here of why they're upset about this. I think Waldron did a fine job with Loki. I think it was one of the best stories they've told on Disney Plus so far. I don't think that Multiverse of Madness's shortcomings should be held to him alone, if him at all.
Honestly, they're mad because they're the internet, as Terry McIver says with a shakes fist. I'm very excited for this. Basically, the journey that he started us on, he's going to wrap up. That's right. I used
it's word. Fitting. Yeah, he's the one that introduced us to He Who Remains. So it kind of makes sense that once the King Dynasty comes around and we get to Secret Wars,
I got goosebumps for him to come back around.
Yeah,
I got goosebumps when you said it.
So I guess
buddy.
This begs the question: will Kang be in Secret Wars, or is the Kang Dynasty going to be the end of the line for that character? I know we really have no frame of reference yet. But do you think that this adds a little bit more merit to the thought that Kang will also be a player in Secret Wars?
Yes, I do. Because it seems like, the Kang dynasty might end with the idea that there's always a bigger, badder Kang. To quote Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish. There's always a badder Kang. There's always, and he who remains, we don't know what he had to do to survive and win the war and kill everybody and sequester off his reality.
Yeah, and Sylvie didn't even think to ask him before slaying him with a dagger. So thanks a lot.
Well, revenge is a dish best served cold or whatever, and she had a lot of vengeance to enact. So I don't blame her. But I do think Kang will be involved in Secret Wars. Whether or not he's the big bad of Secret Wars, I do not know. I very much think he is, simply because they're calling it the multiverse saga. And in Loki, they talk about the multiversal war. And then you find out that it's basically Kang who started the multiversal war. Right. And it's He Who Remains who ended that multiversal war. And
it kind of all comes back to him.
And it all comes back to Kang through time, all time. It all comes back to Kang. We should move on before I sing another random song.
Let's move on. So Michael Waldron is writing Avengers 6, not directing, might I add, just writing Avengers 6. And
really quick, who do you want to direct that?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I kind of have a few favorites, but like seeing that Destin Daniel Cretton is doing Avengers 5, it kind of makes me want to have another Phase 4 director do Secret Wars. So,
okay,
this is such an unpopular opinion, and I know it goes against what we were just talking about, but it would be kind of cool to see Sam Raimi take a whack at it.
Wow.
I know.
That is insane.
I know. I'm definitely in the minority when I say that Multiverse of Madness was such a fun experience and was so outside the box that it's one of the better MCU experiences for me because of how, because it doesn't fit their mold in any sense. And that's why I'm looking forward to Werewolf by Night so much, is that it's different, and with Avengers movies, I'm not to say that they've been the same so far, but there have been 4 of them, and the same pair of directors did the last 2. Chances are by the time we get to Secret Wars, they're going to be looking for something new. I don't know if they'll want to pair Waldron up with Raimi a second time, but if that's the direction they're looking, I mean, they were confident in that pair the first time around.
Yeah. And
what do you think?
I had a crazy idea. I'm sorry. You know how Secret Wars in the comics has like a bunch of different writers doing different stories within the Secret Wars storyline? All right. So like, what if they got a bunch of different directors from the MCU and they go into different worlds? Like, you've got the Thor Corps. I'm begging you, Marvel, give me the Thor Corps. Give me 30,000 Thors.
Thomas will find any way to put Thor Corps into this conversation.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? It was my favorite side comic of the whole thing. You got to find the Thor who killed another Thor. Then you find out it was a Loki, but that Loki's a Thor. It's insanity. That's what Michael
sounds pretty wild.
Waiting to happen. Anyways, back to the plot. Like, you could have a bunch of different pocket universes, right? And you could have, one overarching director and their co-director. And the co-director is the director who's in charge of those characters. And they want to play with this little side story. Because you can have, I don't know, let's just say you can have Captain America Sam Wilson with Captain America... well, you know what? Captain Carter. You can have that happen. You can have 2 different versions of those characters. Like, there's a lot that can be done inside Secret Wars. I'm not going to dive into the weeds too much because I can already feel my brain going, dude, go to bed. So I'm just saying you could have a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different directors. I mean, come in and shoot little one-shots, like one-shot scene here, one-shot scene there. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be fun because then you can see the madness truly of the multiverse. Just give me like 30,000 Kangs. Also, give me the Kang Council. Let's move on. You know who's coming back? You know who's allegedly coming back? Dun, 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 Superman.
Yeah, man.
Allegedly, I heard that some world famous journalist wrote this one.
Yeah, that would be me.
All right, well,
No, I just finished writing this article actually right before we hopped on here, because there's a new report saying that when am I going to stop saying Cavill? That Henry Cavill will be returning as Superman in a new sequel to Man of Steel. So this, I'm not going to lie, full transparency, I did not recognize the source on this news, but it came from, it came from a podcast called Marvel Vision, by the editor-in-chief of Birth Movies Death, which is an outlet I had not heard of. But his name's David Faraci. And he said that he has some behind-the-scenes evidence that suggests that Henry Cavill is actually working a new deal with Warner Bros. That's already been signed. And they're going to be making another Man of Steel movie. And all of this happened purely thanks to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his advocating for Henry Cavill to return. So whether or not this was before or after the San Diego Comic-Con fiasco where everyone was booing him because Henry wasn't there, it does seem... it seems like this was way before that, because it seems like they've got all this worked out already, to the point where Faraci was saying that The Rock went like hard, quote, full court press on Warner Bros. And made them go to Henry Cavill, and they had to sign a new deal with Henry Cavill, including saying they were going to develop a new Superman movie. And it was all because The Rock insisted. So
that's what I'm talking about.
He's heard us.
Let's go,
He's
Rock.
heard our cry.
I smell what The Rock is cooking, and it's a good DC universe.
Yeah, man. I don't know if he's doing this strictly for the love, or if he's doing it because he wants to fight Superman in the next 3 movies he's in. I know, but it could be a little bit of both. I know it is definitely a little bit of both. But he said at San Diego Comic-Con, he said Henry Cavill is a friend, and someone's like, okay, well, would Superman beat Black Adam? He goes, depends on who's playing Superman, and looks into the camera and goes, and it's like, right.
Woo!
You could tell in that moment, like, he's like, I want to tell you something so bad, I just can't. And there's been a lot of rumors flying around that Cavill does make a appearance in a Black Adam post-credit scene, and there's even talk that he's showing up elsewhere outside of Black Adam too. So there's a lot of precedence to actually support the notion that there's another Man of Steel movie finally being made, almost 10 years after the original one came out. So I couldn't be more happy about this. Just honestly, I love Henry Cavill. I just want Superman back in theaters, even if it's not him. Like, I love him as Superman, but I just want them to do something with Superman. You're sitting on this amazing IP, and the best thing you're doing with it is a CW show. And I want them to do more with it. So I'm really happy to hear this. But do you have any other thoughts on this? Do you think it's a good idea to put him in a Black Adam movie, or do you want another Man of Steel movie?
Yes. Still yes.
All right. Yes. To
quote Daniel Bryan, yes.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes. That is specifically for Liam Crowley. He's the only one who might get it. Terry might get it.
I get it.
Do you? Really?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Before he was Bryan Danielson.
Yes. The current Bryan Danielson. Well, not current Bryan Danielson. Let's talk about some blood in the water. I'm gonna let you take control of this one, so I can try and read this article really fast. Cool.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty hyped to talk about this one, and after our friend's review of it, I'm even more excited. So, as many know, the Werewolf by Night special on Disney Plus is dropping tonight, tomorrow for most, but if you're on the Pacific side of things, it'll be at midnight. I'm probably going to try to stay up for it. I don't know if you will, Thomas. I know you like your sleep, and you have to get up much earlier than me.
Yeah.
But our friend who just joined us a couple weeks ago, Jade Ruffalo, has shared her full in-depth review through the Agents of Fandom website. And so I wanted to just read a couple portions of it to try to get you a little bit more excited for what's to come here. But by the way, this is, Jade told us that this is her first ever article that she's ever written. I got to say, I was pretty impressed because this is some good stuff. It reads really well. So check it out at agentsoffandom.com if you get a chance. But basically, the main part I wanted to get at is that this movie is, or I guess we got to call it a special presentation, is way outside the box for anything the MCU's done before. First off, before we dive into this, Disney Plus has listed Werewolf by Night with an age rating of MA 15 plus in Australia, which is by far the most mature rating an MCU project's ever gotten. So it'll probably receive a somewhat similar rating here. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the blood and guts and gore. Oh my, as Jade tells us, she says, quote, "Now we were warned by Giacchino," I always butcher his name too, that this would be the bloodiest MCU project. And that absolutely lives up to his word. There are some scenes where blood is the main focus. As mentioned before, 95% of the special is in black and white, which helps with censoring, quote unquote, the plethora of gore, keeping Disney's clean reputation intact. There is no holding back with the violence in the show. In fact, the stunt work and choreography are incredibly crafted, with fighting sequences similar to the prior Marvel entries, while managing to add in the viciousness of monster movies. One of the final scenes shows Jack Russell's werewolf ripping apart a handful of guards while blood splatters the screen until it's almost covered. A perfect ending to the gory violence the audience just witnessed. That sounds crazy to me, because if there's one thing that Marvel has shied away from, it's blood. Like, a lot of the violence in these MCU movies and TV shows conveniently leave out any actual marking on the human body that they've just been in a fight. And this is quite the opposite. I know you've been a huge fan of the Game of Thrones prequel series that's been running, and I've heard that is pretty gory. What do you think about this news? Do you think that that's an answer to that, or do you think that they just see that there's more room for success in this area?
They are just doing their own thing, to be dead honest with you. And I honestly, I'm a huge fan. And I think it's time. Like they if they're gonna go into the monster realm and they're gonna bring in Deadpool, they gotta play around with the ratings here a little bit. And I don't think it's an answer to anything. That's just doing what the character requires, is what I do believe it is. And they're paying homage to a bunch of old horror, like the original Universal horror movies, the monster universe that they tried to get up. Remember that movie with the Mummy and Tom Cruise? Yeah, me either. They're very much, Terry is very much looking forward to this one. And is, somewhat Van Helsing-esque, where it's tapping in certain characters. Shout out Terry McIver. He's been hanging in here with the comments the whole time, and I just looked at the comments, so I failed. I have failed us. And it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited that I just saw that Man-Thing is being played by Carrie fucking Jones.
Yeah.
If you like Star Wars, he's Black Chrysanthemum. If you like Predator, he's the tracker Predator. In the Scooby-Doo Curse of the Lake Monster TV movie, he's a lake monster suit performer. He is that dude. In the United Monster Talent Agency, a short, he plays Creature from the Black Lagoon. He, are you ready for this? Has more credits in the makeup department and special effects department than he does as an actor.
Wow. So he's been around the block for this.
He's the guy. He is the KNB EFX group. He's the supervisor for them for Werewolf by Night, Interview with the Vampire. Let me just scroll. Let me keep scrolling. Since 2005, he has been working with that company, and he's been supervisor since 2013 on This Is the End. I'm a liar. I'm a liar. Since 2013, Hemlock Grove, and he's been supervisor ever since. So,
wow. So that's exciting. A lot of experience.
So what that means is we have a legitimate OG makeup department in the MCU. And I'm not shitting on anybody else. It's the monster effects that he's bringing that we love the most.
Right.
So,
and Kevin Feige has reportedly been very adamant that Man-Thing be done right through this special, because he really, really wants both Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing to have a proper introduction, because he's got plans for them. We don't know what they are, but he's saying that they're going to start popping up elsewhere. And the Monsterverse is really the sector of the Marvel Universe I never got into. So there's a lot in this arena that I just have no clue about. So I'm really excited to be introduced to like a new sector that I really don't have a lot of prior experience with.
Very exciting. Very exciting. I'm excited for Werewolf by Night. You know, I love Halloween, and I'm not a big horror fan, and I've talked to Jade about this, and she says that even though I'm not a horror fan, I'm going to love this because I love spooky season, and because I'm not like, I love the old classic horror movies, quote unquote, of the monsters. So I'm excited, man. I cannot wait. I hope that I wake up in time to watch this before work tomorrow, but we'll see. We will see.
It'll be a fun way to start the day, surely.
Absolutely. Listen, I watched Andor before work yesterday. I watched She-Hulk before work today. And if I get to watch Werewolf by Night before work tomorrow, it's going to be a damn good day in the sun. And where are we at right now? All right. We have two more things to talk about. I feel like you want to talk about the Ayer cut.
It's like 1.5 things, because like this is really just worth mentioning. For a long time, a lot of fans have said that the original Suicide Squad movie starring Margot Robbie and Will Smith as Deadshot didn't live up to what it should have been due to a lot of studio interference. And the director, David Ayer, has said for a long time there's a whole cut of the movie that he never got to show the world because the studio messed with it so much, and it ended up being a very, very similar story to Zack Snyder's Justice League. So pretty much as soon as the Snyder cut of the Justice League came out, a lot of fans were advocating for the same thing to happen for David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And although it seemed like a bunch of noise at first, there are reports of a private screening of the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad being shown to select audiences. So as ridiculous as it may sound, Warner Bros. DC might have a second movie being remade in the last 2 years that will have an alternate cut, basically, where a completely different version of the movie will be released. So I think it's weird. I know we talked about it before, that Snyder Cut set a weird precedence for people to complain until they get what they want. And I believe that the fans have a right to do that to a certain extent. But you got to draw the line somewhere. We already made another Suicide Squad movie, to kind of fix the mess that the last one made. I don't know. Do you have any desire to see this? Because I was barely interested in the first one to begin with, and I can't imagine they can make it that much better just with reused footage. What do you think?
Well, okay. So with being a fan of David Ayer and his work, I very much do want to see this. He goes deep into the characters. And I mean, first off, I fucking hate how Joker's nice to Harley, because that's not at all what is portrayed. Like, he goes and saves her. I got you, my love. What? You mean the same guy who tortured her and threw her into a vat of acid and then uses her in the worst way, but now all of a sudden he's going to save her in the end? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
I agree. Do you think they'll change that?
Breaking her out of prison doesn't make sense. They set up Jared Leto's Joker to be the absolute worst. So there was a lot of other stuff that was done originally in the movie that was changed. So one of the things that I know was a big hit was Diablo having a face turn and having a tragic backstory. Mm-hmm. And then like he got used to do something because they scrapped another thing that he wanted to do. So in my opinion, I'd be excited to see how they do it. Maybe he brings his full on Ayer cut, or maybe he takes the best of both worlds and says, fuck it, I do what I want. I'd watch it because I know that David Ayer has a specific vision when he goes in to make a movie. And oftentimes Warner Brothers says the movie's bad and then doesn't put it out, but then they'll go put out some shit like Justice League 2017 or cut down a movie and say, this is what we want to put out. Like, no, stop doing hack jobs and just put out the movie.
Right.
And you know, that same frustration, that same vigor that I just said those things soon, maybe could be pointed towards the MCU. Not everybody's a fan of Multiverse of Madness. Not everyone's a fan of Love and Thunder. You can feel in Love and Thunder specifically how there's a lot going on, and with the deleted scenes, you can tell there was a whole different movie originally coming out at one point.
Right.
So it's very interesting to see, like, oh, okay, like, okay, I want to know what the original idea was. I love Love and Thunder with what we got, but I don't love the Suicide Squad 20 whatever year that was that we got. I don't love it, and I want a better version. I ranted. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly what I was looking for, because I think we're in very different spots on this. I have no desire to even give that one another chance, but if they do release another cut of it, I mean, I will have to check it out to see how different it is. I'm just worried it's going to make me want to watch the original again to compare it, and I don't know if I can put myself through that again.
I mean, I do understand, my good sir, and I don't. I got nothing, man. Can we jump to the mushroom world? Can we go to the Mushroom Kingdom? Here we come.
Yeah, that was about as good of a Mario impression as what we heard in this new trailer. We finally got a first look at the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
That's me doing his impression.
Yeah, and it was probably as just as good as Chris Pratt's Mario voice, because Pratt promised a
Mushroom Kingdom. Here we come.
Yeah, it's just.
I think that's better, but I'm biased.
I think you're doing a great job. I can't say the same for this voice cast, though. I gotta say, with the movie Sonic the Hedgehog, they hit it right on the nose. I know this is a totally separate thing, but with Mario, just watching those characters, something just feels off. I don't know what it is. Specifically with Bowser, I love the fact that Jack Black is doing that voice, but at the same time, Bowser just seems I don't know what it is. I think I just need to see more, because something just seems a little bit off to me, and I think it's because we got to get used to them all just having American accents.
Yeah. Bowser is the one that I don't hate. Like, I'm like,
I think he looks amazing.
It's not monstrous, but you don't always have a monstrous voice with some monster, which is kind of like a play, like it's its own play. But he's got he's got that evil. So I enjoy that. It's really fun. Terry McIver says, "Isn't Mario supposed to be from Brooklyn?" And I don't know if that's the case in the video games, because that lore came out before I was born. That was awesome. I didn't mean for that to work, but it came out before I was born, so I always thought he was just Italian.
No, the original lore does say that he's from Brooklyn, but
then in that case, yeah, I guess this voice totally was. Let's go to the Mushroom Kingdom.
It could just be that, honestly, because a lot of the games give him this weird, like, super whimsical Italian accent, and
it's me, Mario.
Yeah, right, exactly. But in reality, he should sound more like Spider-Man, really. So, he should sound more like Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers, yeah, there you go. He's literally from Brooklyn. So,
Brooklyn.
It'll be an adjustment, but I think it's just because of our own expectations. I don't think it's anything that movie's doing wrong. So
that makes me feel better knowing he's from Brooklyn, because I did not know that at all. Oh, here we go. Well, in the video games, he's Italian American from Brooklyn that looks Mexican, is what Terry McIver says with a shrug emoji. What did you think of the trailer itself, though?
I thought the visuals look awesome. I think the comedy is going to be super prevalent, much like the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise they're building on screen. Just the little sequence you got with Bowser versus the penguins, I looked like it's going to have a lot of irony in it and a lot of subverted expectations. So it looks like it'll be a fun time. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks amazing. I am a big fan of the penguins. I love the king.
Yeah, they're going to get demolished.
Yeah, that is just a touch. That is just a sample of what we can do. Do you surrender? Like, It's
Yeah,
adorable.
that was
Like
great.
those little Jalen Waddles.
I want to know how Princess Peach is tying into this. Like, why is Mario going to want to save Peach?
He's being led by Mushroom Kid. I don't remember the Mushroom Kid's
Don't
name.
touch that mushroom. Just kidding. This one's totally fine.
Yeah.
That chaos energy is going to be a great factor to follow throughout the movie.
I'm trying to find it because I listened to it in the car while I was driving home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see the actual visuals this time.
Yeah, the visuals are going to be, I think, one of the stronger suits.
Listen to
Terry
this.
McIver saying,
Here we come.
Mushroom Kingdom.
that's Chris Pratt's Mario. So
Here we
it
come.
does kind of sound like a New Yorker now that I'm hearing it that way. So I'm not totally against it. Terry McIver in the chat saying, having watched Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers a couple days ago, I thought it was awesome that we got to see ugly Sonic in a movie. That was definitely one of my favorite parts of that movie. I think with these animated adventures getting a little bit more meta and kind of playing more into the audience's expectations and kind of bringing them along for that ride and keying them in on more of the irony, I think will be crucial for making this movie successful. So if they can do anything that Chip and Dale did with, like with those meta references like ugly Sonic, putting, a recognizable piece of fans' expectations or the history of making this movie somewhere in that film, I think will go a long way with how people will receive it. But yeah, trailer for Super Mario Bros. Is out, and it's happening. Chris Pratt is Mario and Jack Black is Bowser. I saw a lot of names on that cast list that I recognize too. So
yeah, the cast list is fat, dude.
Yeah, a lot of these animated ones are, especially like DC League of Super Pets. That's another big one that had a ton of names in it. I feel like every character I knew from somewhere. But yeah, it'll be cool. I'm excited to see this. I've loved the Sonic movies. I really liked the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So a lot of this animated stuff has been really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sorry, I'm watching the trailer again because I want to hear Jack Black. The King of the Koopas. Just fast forward. He only says like a couple lines in this, right?
Right.
So
I
the
think they're
penguins
both,
look
right
like
at the beginning.
Yeah, the penguins look like Angry Birds to me.
Yeah, they don't look very threatening.
No.
I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're just little rubber guys. Like those little squeaky rubber chickens.
Here we go.
I do not.
See, I like that voice for Bowser.
It sounds evil. Yeah, I don't mind it.
The reason I like it is it's not down here. It's I do not. And that is the sound of like he's about to breathe, like he's breathing fire. He doesn't have to talk like a monster when he breathes literal fire. So, I do not. He's just smougging it up, He's been in
like
Zuko.
Cumberbatch.
Zuko!
His voice isn't like super deep, but it's still ominous and threatening.
That's rough, buddy.
Exactly.
My first girlfriend also turned into the moon. Yeah. She was also from the water tribe. Yeah. She's now a Cancer moon.
Wow. What are the odds?
And now she lives right here inside of my heart. There was so much being said right then.
Yeah, that was
right there. Very much big fan of this trailer from what I've seen. Knowing that it's Brooklyn, he's from Brooklyn, makes me feel a lot better about his voice. I'm just happy it's not Chris Pratt's voice.
Yeah.
This is my only complaint as somebody who only listened to the trailer while driving. I spent most of my time listening to the trailer than I have sitting and watching the trailer. When he falls, he's Chris Pratt. When he speaks, he's Mario. And that takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
When he
hit that mushroom and he goes, oh, you could hear Star-Lord.
He's like, ugh. It should be, ugh. Like he should carry the accent along into it,
Yeah.
It's
I
almost
can
like
relate to that.
It's almost like I do this all the time. Seriously, I'm going to be able to be this Mario character. Put me in a Mario suit is what I'm saying. And I'll walk around all the time and just call myself the King of Plumbers. Because Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. Do we have any other news, my good sir?
No, I think that's it. I think we got all the big ones.
When's the last Mario game you played? What is the last Mario game you played?
Is that including Mario Kart?
Yeah.
Then it would be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. They're still adding a lot of DLC maps to that, so I play that one pretty frequently.
Gotcha. Okay.
What about you?
One of the original Mario games from the olden days on the Switch. I just don't remember which one. Yeah.
Nice.
All I remember is it was one of the ones from childhood, and that was it. We did it. We watched
One of the ones from childhood. Specific as we need to be.
All right. We need to take a brief ad break. I need to run outside and grab something from my pops. He's here to drop off some mail. So we will take a brief ad break. JRB, you're in control for the next 60 seconds.
Yay.
We are a touring acoustic duo crashing kitchens around the country. We go from house to house every Friday night and we create music, we create food, a good time, we stream it live and we do it for free. So now we're just really kind of like trying to develop it and build a community group that people believe in, then they'll help us. So we played from our rehearsal room, we played from the bathroom, thankfully that didn't catch on.
I probably played guitar in my room, not for anyone, in front of anyone, nobody heard, for probably about 10 years.
And then one Friday night we played from the kitchen. It's the main place people want to be. It's where the food is, it's where the drink is, it's where the best lighting is. You can go to any party and I guarantee you the kitchen is going to be popping.
Our ultimate goal, I think, would be to crash kitchens every Friday all around the world.
All right, and we are back just a little bit later than usual, but that's how we do it around here. So without further ado, Thomas will be joining us here again in a moment, but we have a visitor lurking, and it is the third guest in a row. 3 weeks in a row, we've had someone from agentsoffandom.com join us here on LightsThunderAction, but without further ado, let's welcome Garrett Blaney to our stream here. Garrett,
hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing, man?
Yo, I am doing so good. Thank you for having me. I didn't know I was the third in a row. That's awesome.
Yeah, we talked to TJ last week, and we had Jade on the week prior, both to talk about She-Hulk, but some other things that were going on, especially last week with all the Marvel news. Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine, and Blade losing its director and everything. But yeah. Dude. We had to save the best for last. So, yeah, welcome in. This is actually my first time talking to you. I think I have a bad habit of doing that on this show. I won't officially meet someone until they come on here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, dude, it's a pleasure. I've honestly been in that same situation on our show, too, and I understand how it feels. So it's interesting to be on the other side of it. But, dude, it's so great. It's so great to meet you. I would like to walk your statement back a hair. I would definitely argue that TJ and Jade are more important than me, but I'm my own harshest critic, so.
Jaw field on that one.
Yeah, we can probably all relate on that front. But I'm assuming you've watched this week's episode of She-Hulk.
No, I didn't. Is that what we're talking about? Totally kidding.
We're going to get into the thick of it here in a minute because this might have been the best episode they've done so far. Maybe. But first of all, I just want to hear your overall thoughts on the show so far, like as a whole. How have you been receiving it? How's it been hitting you week to week?
Yeah, so I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it a lot. I've said it on our show a couple times, but I'm at the point in these Marvel Disney Plus shows where like I've already gotten some really, really awesome content. So I'm not necessarily looking for every show or every episode to top the last. And I'm just enjoying having a lot of fun with She-Hulk because that's what this is. The show's it's just a lot of fun. If I could critique it in a way, it would be that I feel like I'm watching The Office or like a sitcom. So I want to have like a 25 episode season where I can just have 20 minutes, you know, a week while I'm eating dinner, watching some lighthearted TV. It just feels short when it ends. I'm like, oh man, we're only going to get, you know, 9 episodes of this, and I want definitely a lot more weeks. That's my only criticism.
Yeah, you and I are definitely in the same boat on that front. Thomas will tell you week after week, the one thing I've been saying is that this show is just not long enough. You know, whether it be in terms of the actual runtime week to week, or if it's, you know, the episode count as a whole, it just does feel like we should have more of it, because this week's episode finally delivered on what we've been expecting this whole time, and is, you know, a law comedy, and, you know, with superheroes. And I feel like we've just been getting a taste of that up until this week. Thomas, would you agree on that? Or I know you've said that the pacing and the length has been pretty good so far. How are you feeling after this week's episode?
I'm still digging it, man. I think people have been trying to put it all like under a microscope and like try and see all the stuff that's not there, instead of just shutting the hell up and watching and enjoying. It's a sitcom. Not every week is going to be deep. Not every week is going to tie in to the overarching plan of it all. I mean, how many episodes during the season of The Office where they're still looking for a manager and they cycle through managers like every 3 or 4 episodes? You forget about it sometimes, and so it's like, oh yeah, they're still looking for a manager because, you know, Robert California has only been here for like half a season. And it happens all the time. Parks and Rec. It's the genuine. I mean, MASH is old school sitcom. They're all trying to get out of the war and end the war. It only takes 11 years, you know, real world time. So I think the pacing has been great. I think the stories that we're getting is exactly what we should be getting. We've learned about Jen. We've learned about, I mean, in the beginning, we learned more about the world around Jen and how she views it than we learned about her, because she wasn't willing to learn about herself. And as we've gotten deeper into the season, she started going on this journey of self-discovery at a later time than, say, other characters do in some of these Disney Plus shows. However, if you were to take all these stories, throw it into a movie, then what you're going to see is about the same amount of breakdown for time up to this point. So we're in the 3rd act. We've been in the 3rd act for, I mean, I guess the last 2 or 3 episodes. And now we're seeing the growth of this character, and now everything's starting to tie together. And here we are. Everything that has happened so far in this season has culminated into a quite literal and figurative smash of an episode 8. And I don't want to be the guy who said I saw it always coming, but when you think 4th dimensionally, you see where they're going to land the plane, unless it's in the Buffalo River.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. No, I do think that on a week to week, or from a week to week aspect, it is telling really like good quality stories that are fun to follow. But it's episodes like this one where you can tell like this one definitely got more attention during development. Garrett, obviously the biggest takeaway from this episode is that Daredevil is now officially back and operating within the MCU. I don't even know if I want to get into like the canonicity of it, because every time this character's even mentioned, it starts an uproar on Twitter. But this is by far the most exposure we've gotten to this character so far. It seemed a little bit like the Netflix series, but it also seemed like they added a lot more to this character since the last time we saw him in the season 3 of his own show. So do you like what we got from this Daredevil? Do you think it was a good introduction, or were you expecting something different?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I watched the episode this morning, and I immediately went on Twitter and tweeted Charlie Cox did not miss a beat, because I don't know if I'm just, you know, happy to see him back. Obviously that's part of it, but I didn't care about anything. Their banter together, I could watch the entire episode of just them bantering together, just them flirting. Like it felt like he's been here the entire time, and I haven't missed him at all. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a sop and I'm nostalgic, but I was there for it the entire time.
It was so natural, and it worked very, very well. It's been a while since we've seen two heroes banter like that, and especially from a romantic point of view. It gives
Yeah,
it an extra
true.
comic book layer that I kind of have been craving from the MCU, is these interactions where it's not, an end all be all situation where like, do you love me? Do we have to be in this relationship forever? It's a casual run in with another superhero, and regardless of what comes of it now, this will be a very fun little anecdote for the She-Hulk in the MCU for our fans going forward. So on top of the awesome, chemistry that we had with Jen, we also got Daredevil in a capacity that was super familiar with the fighting. But they added another layer with the acrobatics too. So I think that this episode promised a lot for the 18 episode arc we're going to get in Daredevil Born Again. Thomas.
Yes.
With the Daredevil that we met in this show, how similar do you think the Daredevil show we're going to get is going to be to She-Hulk compared to how it was in the first 3 seasons of Daredevil? Because the tone was a little different here. It was a familiar character, but the tone was a little bit different than what we're used to. Do you think we should expect more of this Matt Murdock, or should we expect to get back to the darker side of him?
You mean the very same Matt Murdock who quite literally cracks jokes all the time, and the very first episode is like, "How long have you been practicing law? What time is it? 12:22. About 7 hours." It's the same guy. It's the same guy. It's just setting up that guy. I'm a really good lawyer. Same dude, same character. No one got pissed about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get both. I mean, it's the same thing. We're gonna get closer to what we had in the Netflix series. I think it'll be more lighthearted than a Netflix series overall because, it's Feige, it's the MCU. But I think, the tone will be there. We'll see where Disney Plus is about to have Werewolf by Night be dark,
Yeah.
bloody dark.
Yeah.
Maybe TVMA dark. And if that's the case, maybe we will get more of a PG-14 or TV-14, Daredevil Born Again.
Reborn? Yeah. Daredevil Born Again. Yeah.
We got there.
There was so much about Daredevil, especially as soon as they said, there's 10 guys in the hallway. My ears perked up, and I was like, hallway?
Yeah.
And sure enough, we got down there, and he was ready to square off with a half a dozen of them after knocking a few guys out. And in classic She-Hulk fashion, she crashed through the ceiling, and Jen kind of foiled that scene for us. And I think that was the perfect She-Hulk moment. The director, is it Jessica Gao? Is that her name?
Yes.
Explained that they did that intentionally to subvert expectations like they've been doing all season, to show fans that this is still a She-Hulk show.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of Daredevil, but we saw a ton of She-Hulk in this episode, including her demolishing a parking lot, which he was keen to point out right when they finished up. But she also had her first full freak out since the first episode too. We're finally starting to see that line from Bruce come to fruition, where he said, once people fear you, that doesn't change. You can't change that. Thomas, you got something on the tip of your tongue. What's up?
Remember how this was supposed to be episode 7 and the premiere was supposed to be episode 8?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we see why, because she has that freak out, and then it'll go back to the original. And it's like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like, did She-Hulk? No one's gonna, and then there's gonna be that line. Once you freak out, you never come back from that. And then that's where everyone's gonna be like, oh, I don't know why.
Right. The original plan was for us not to hear that yet, where we would have heard that next week, or I guess this week if it would have followed that schedule. But it is interesting once again to see that the last minute restructuring is kind of it had a longer effect on how the show's received. But Garrett, this is kind of turning a new leaf for She-Hulk, because we're finally seeing her show her power in a way where it's having more of a physical effect, but also like a psychological effect on the people around her. So when we get to this final episode, it seems like they're going to do the classic Disney Plus treatment, where they're going to have a super in-depth emotional character study to try to resolve this issue that she's up against. Do you expect to see more smashing in the finale, or do you think it's just going to be Jen that we spend time with in this final episode? Because I feel like they're all over the place with this.
Yeah, great question. I think listen, we just got Jen in like her suit. Finally her suit.
Yeah.
There's no way
Yeah, they snuck
that's
that
the
in there.
last smashing that we get. There's no way that's last smashing we get. Like
Nah.
there's so much more on the intelligentsia stuff, the Hulk King stuff. Like I would be so shocked if they just ended this episode with just a character study of like coming to terms with like these issues and like facing that part of yourself. I would be so disappointed if that's how they ended this, because with the runtimes that we've gotten, like there's just so much that needs to we need more than that. So I would be very disappointed if that's how it happened.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wonder how long that finale is going to be, because we're still hanging around that like 35-minute ish range. It'll be interesting to see. But Thomas, the finale, what are your expectations after the way this ended?
I'm not gonna even lie to you. I don't know. It ended, and I was like, "Damn it! I'm mad again for the third or second week in a row." Fuck.
This episode did feel like the longest one, though. I will say, like that. This one is how I wish all of them felt, where we got through the full Daredevil story, and then when they said the gala, I was like, "Oh, we're doing more." Like I was expecting the episode to end right there, just like she said. You know,
this episode already came to a very satisfying conclusion.
Yeah,
we were all satisfied.
Yeah, that got me. I was cracking up.
Man, I gotta say, Daredevil's walk of shame where he's carrying his boots is just the funniest thing.
Yes, barefoot too. What a
right, like like when you think about it, like he has to leave in his suit. He can't just walk out. That's all he brought with him, you know. And and if anyone saw him go in there as Matt or as Daredevil, he's not going to come out as someone else. So he's got to still keep that secret identity intact. So like that was such a funny scene to watch play out. But yeah, man, that was so enjoyable.
Yeah, the Nerdist on Twitter is real pissed off about it, and it's like, have you ever gotten laid, bro?
Really?
Probably not.
Terry McIver in the chat saying, "Yeah, who hasn't done the walk of shame?" Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
The fact that the MCU's been around since 2008 and this is the first one we've seen, is besides maybe I guess the one in Iron Man where Pepper Potts takes out the trash, but like other than that, we really haven't seen this take place. So like I like this.
I forgot about her.
I could get used to this too, and especially with these characters, like it's just so fitting that this is the first one that we get.
Yeah.
Or
I liked it a lot.
But, you know.
Well, and the thing is like it wasn't like it was a relationship that we didn't already enjoy either. You know, it was a very satisfying dynamic that we got to see, and then that was just kind of the icing on the cake. You know, but man, it seems like every time Jen finds like a little bit of luck or catches a little bit of a break in the love department, she ends up dealing with something much worse the next morning. And that gala she ended up at was pretty bad. I gotta say,
what was up with that? Is you're getting the female lawyer of the lady lawyer of the whatever.
Yeah, and then they gave it to like 7 of them.
Like, dude, come on. My favorite part of that is when they're like, what is it like to be like a lady lawyer? And the first she's like, it's so hard and empowering. And the next one's Mallory Book. She's like, oh, you know, you work harder than everyone else. You get less credit. And then you have to deal with dumbass answering questions like, what's it like being a lady lawyer? And I'm like, whoo, let's go.
Yeah, I let out like an audible, like, well, let's go. I was so hyped for that. Like, damn.
After that answer, it panned over to Nikki and Pug, and they were both like, yeah.
Yes. More Nikki and Pug, by the way. Please.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, we did not get enough Pug. I don't care if he's in the entire finale. We didn't get enough of Pug. He's been great. Nikki too. Nikki's been a player that like she's been just involved enough where like she did something in this episode where I was like, does she matter to this story or is she just a side character? Thomas, I think you might have noticed it too. What'd you see?
She jumps. It's like, wait, is this the part where we get a twist? Is it like one of those expected twists where like, oh, this is the villain the whole time? Like a really twisty twist. And she jumps out and she's got 3 makeup brushes in between her fingers like Wolverine.
And they do a sound effect. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh, we're getting a really dope twist. We're getting a really dope twist. No, it's the expected twist. Son of a bitch.
Right. Right. I didn't think the gala was going to be in this episode. I thought they were going to leave it on that cliffhanger and we were going to see it next week. And
see, I had to look at the like she's like, oh, the gala, and I hit the button, I go down, I'm like, oh, we're going to the gala. We still got like 9 minutes left.
Same.
5 minutes
I
of
looked.
credits.
I was like, I got to see how much time we have left.
I did that too. I did that too. I can't even lie.
But man, Garrett, we've asked everyone so far what their thoughts are on this character Josh. The common consensus has been that we've wanted to squish him into the floor with the heel of our boot. Do you agree with that?
I want to beat that dude's ass so bad. So bad.
Yeah, he's the worst, isn't he?
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked me that. Feels like I had some pent up rage that I needed to let loose there.
Yeah, he's quite literally the worst. And it took me a second to realize that up until this moment, Jen had no idea that Josh was a bad guy. Like they gave that to us in the closing moments last week, but like she never got that part of it. So she still thinks that it's a random dude that ghosted her. And even after seeing that video, she might not still understand that it was him doing it. Like she probably does, but she might be thinking, oh, he just hacked all the cameras here, you know? But man, this Josh guy, I mean, we have to see him next week, right?
Yeah. So my girlfriend is Asian, and we were watching the episode where he gets introduced, and we're like discussing with ourselves throughout the episode, like, is he good? Is he bad? Do we trust this guy?
Okay.
I love Jen. I want to trust this guy. Like, she deserves happiness. And my girlfriend, who's Asian, so she can say this, goes, well, they cast an Asian dude, so he's probably going to have to kick some ass. So he's probably going to be a bad guy. And then the next week came, and it was, and she gave me a haha, I told you. And so I'm assuming that next week is going to be an even bigger one.
Josh Pug Battle Royale.
Yeah, let Pug kick his ass. Yeah,
I'm so in for that.
Yeah, She-Hulk doesn't need to stoop to his level. Leave it up to Pug. He'll kick him in the face with those Iron Man 3s.
Yeah, and Nikki too. Nikki would get a few shots in.
With those claws, man. She's Wolverine. By the way, I that was sort of a question for some of us over here at the Direct, and we weren't totally sure if that was meant to be a Wolverine reference. I totally took it as that. I feel like that's the second or third one he's had in this show, which just further cements it for me. But been a lot of Wolverine talk lately. A lot of Wolverine going on here. So I'm really
not mad about it.
That. Yeah, I'm not mad either. It's been too long. Far too long.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know where we go next week because of how this ended. And I'm trying to remember the quote from Matt Rimke today in our group chat, but it was basically like, I love how the villain, the big bad of this series is that it's people who think that you can't have consensual sex before marriage unless you have a penis. And it's like, yeah, that kind of is exactly what this seems to be.
Kind of is, yeah.
Like, it's like She-Hulk is a slut, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you?
They're slut shaming her. Like, out of all the things that they could be critiquing of Jen's life, like, I'm sure that they could pull any number of the legal cases she's worked on to try to use it against her, but yet they're using her sexuality and her like personal life, her personal love life against her. And I think that's very prevalent to how we view certain people in like whether it be celebrities or just in the media in general. Where we hold them to a different standard on that front.
Yeah, from Terry McIver, he says, this is where we are as a society, unfortunately. Just look at Paige from WWE. She was shamed for a video that leaked. The guys involved in it, not at all. They weren't shamed at all. They got high fives even. There's backstage reports of them getting high fives. And they were like, it's like, high five for what?
Is that Paige Van Zandt you're talking about?
No, it's she just called Paige in WWE.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that story, but
she only went. Yeah, no, it was really in one of the major fappening leaks or whatever. There was a bunch of. It was in the big iCloud hack situation of like 2016 to 18. It was one of the mini celebrities. And it's
very reminiscent of that Pam and Tommy show where she's like the whole time she's just like trying to like figure out her life and like get everyone to stop thinking these things, and he's just like, it's all good, we'll sue the people, and he
that's a great
makes
point.
It so much worse for her. It's exactly like that. We have an article coming up to agentsoffandom.com soon, not yet, but it's titled, and I saw this today when I watched it just to go look at if I had anything to edit. I saw this article and I was so stoked for when it's finished, but it was called She-Hulk's Big Bad, or the Dude Bros We Met Along the Way. So I'm excited for that one. Think that'll be a good analysis.
Absolutely.
You're not wrong. I feel like every episode more or less has had someone like that, where even if it's just a 5-second sequence, they make it a priority to go, oh, what a douche, like they always point out some
Fucking
male
Todd.
or a Todd, where I do really appreciate how Jen is just no longer a pushover, at least not in the situations we've seen her in, where Todd makes that move. And when she's She-Hulk, she has the confidence to go, are you kidding me? I'm out of here,
I love that.
And I'll bill you for the full hour. I love that line. She's like, I am not beneath you, you're beneath me in this moment.
And that guy totally strikes me as a guy that would want to be treated like that by a woman. Just like put down. It's like, yeah, I'm your slave. Like, yeah, exactly.
100%.
He has those vibes.
If you've seen him in Baywatch, you'll know that is a very accurate description. That dude plays that role super well. There's one super important detail from this episode we haven't mentioned, and it's Leapfrog.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in this.
One of the worst Marvel characters ever. They did an excellent job making sure that we knew that when he was introduced in She-Hulk. Man, that dude was a joke. And
jet fuel in it?
Jet fuel in his rocket boots. And using Daredevil's sense of smell to recognize that was very cool, very original. But exactly the type of stuff we would want to see is a courtroom setting where they have that legal argument and they figure that stuff out on screen. Was super cool. That's something I wish we would have seen more of in this season. Garrett, when you saw Matt Murdock walk in as the defense attorney for Luke Jacobson, were you surprised, or was that who you were expecting to see walk in?
I don't want to say I was surprised, but I also, like, when I saw it, I was like, God, why didn't I think of this? It's just so obvious. It makes so much sense.
Right.
Like, why did I never think about this? So it just
Right.
kind of connected, like, right there on the spot. But he did an incredible job. And just on Leapfrog himself, I haven't really been staying up with the promos and everything, but I did see before this episode there was like that Leapfrog promo. I don't know if you guys watched it. It is my favorite promo I've ever seen, with all of them like the auditioning as Leapfrog, and Ginger Gonzaga is like so funny. That was the best teaser I've ever seen.
Kermit.
That was really
good.
good.
Kermit, exactly.
Yeah, the second Muppet to be featured in the She-Hulk show.
True.
Very strange. But yeah, I'm really loving Matt Murdock showing up. But yeah, Leapfrog, he was
an idiot.
And he's an idiot. You're right. He's the first superhero we meet who's just an absolute dipshit. And he's new money. But he comes from old money, I guess. He's just old money now that I think about it. He didn't do anything for himself. He gets it all from his dad, right? Who's a very important client from GLK&H. GLK&H, what are the odds that GLK&H are a scramble play on Hulk King? What do you think about that? Because he's the H in GLK&H, and Hulk King starts with an H. Do you think there's anything there?
HLKG.
Right, those are all in Hulk King.
Oh, wow.
Do you think that maybe that Holloway might be in on this?
Wow.
It feels like if he's involved in this and just has like direct access and is doing all these crazy, hiring these idiots with crowbars, and like it feels
I don't get why he hired She-Hulk if he's giving her all these bogus shitty cases. Like, why else is she there?
To the source. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, kid.
She has to be She-Hulk when she's at work, so he can observe her as She-Hulk all day long.
Wouldn't it be easier to get her blood at work if she was like in human form?
It would be.
You're right. If she was Jen, you would have no issue. But yeah, I don't know. It's just Holloway's been kind of like almost a background character this whole time, and he's just giving me some weird vibes.
Yeah, he sucks.
It's a cover. You have She-Hulk. It's like I couldn't, if I wanted to, I could have her do it at work. Like I could have just gotten it at work. You had me be She-Hulk at work. You had me be She-Hulk so that you couldn't be connected to me trying to get my blood.
Oh wow! And if
plausible deniability.
And if he knows when she is She-Hulk, he will also know when she is not She-Hulk, because he knows she doesn't want to be She-Hulk when she's there.
So the more time she spends as She-Hulk at work, the less time she'll spend as She-Hulk outside of work. Y'all, we're freaking geniuses.
We found it.
We're fucking lawyers.
Yes.
They found her on her way home from work. Who knows when she's on her way home from work? Her boss. We figured it out.
Wow. And from home from the bars, because he meets her at the bars a couple times. Like,
there you go.
That dude is shady as hell.
Keep an eye on Holloway, man.
We're gonna kill him.
Freaking executives. WandaVision had one. I feel like the majority of like the higher ups in these shows are usually no good. Yeah. And I feel probably like that might be a message we're missing. Also real life.
Yeah, probably in real life too.
But real life is probably also accurate. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot hidden in plain sight, I think.
I agree. I think I'm excited to see where this does go. Hulk King, because I at this point, normally I'm the guy who's like, I know exactly who it is. And now it might not be Mr. Blue at all. It might not be the government.
It would be crazy if they waited till the finale to say that, and this is the boat we find ourselves in with almost every single Disney Plus series is we get to the finale and we still don't have a great idea of what's going on right now. That's my main gripe going into the finale.
Let me tell you what's going on in the finale. It's all about this whole series has been about Jen. I think whatever we find out is going to be a setup for whatever's next. Like what we found out in Miss Marvel was what her powers are. We wrapped up her story, and then we find out how she's connected to Captain Marvel and the Marvels, through the post-credit scene. We find out how it's connected with just those two beats. And mutants even got thrown in there at the last second. So there's a lot of 1, 2, 3s right at the end of that series that are like, we've landed this bird. Here's where it's going. She-Hulk's going to do the same thing. She's going to get out of this somehow. I think Bruce comes back. I think Abomination comes in and, accounts for listen, this is wrong. Everybody's got to take a chill pill and, Obama stay and all that. Just come on, man. I don't know why Korg's here, but
he sounds like Korg. He does. You're not that far.
I liked it.
I was on loan to the U.S. government, and I thought it was going to be Captain Bloody America. There it is. I found it. And lost it at the second. But I truly think it's going to wrap up She-Hulk. I think Bruce comes back. I think Emil comes to her rescue. I think she literally works for the superhero division. She's going to lose her job. I feel like there's no way she doesn't lose her job.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be with the
unless
firm by
they're
the end of
willing to stand by her side and say her information was leaked. It is a invasion of privacy and beep bop boop. I don't see that happening.
And that seems like exactly the character of that firm that they would do that for her based on everything that we've seen.
Right, exactly, right.
Beep bop boop. Yeah, I we'll see. I hope they wrap it up and get her out of trouble. And everyone sees, that's the thing that bothers me the most is that these superheroes, they only get one chance to make a mistake. Like some of them get plenty of chances to make a mistake, Steve Rogers. But as soon as you're green and you're a little stronger than everybody, everyone's afraid of you. Yeah. And honestly, that sucks. That's real life. That's real life. You put fear into people and that's what they're going to remember about you for the rest of their natural born life. Unless they kill you, and then it's the rest of your natural born life.
Which is not that long.
Not long at all, right? Just imagine if if She-Hulk got a hold of Hulk King in that moment. She'd break off his little scepter.
Deservedly so. Deservedly so.
Snuck that one right on in there.
Nice.
Love that. Yeah, sorry. What do we need to talk about yet?
I think you bring up a good point that the finale is going to have to tie up a lot of loose ends. I love what you brought up about how Abomination might subvert expectations and actually be the one to come to She-Hulk's aid. That's something I've been saying for a couple weeks now, is I think that Abomination is kind of a red herring. But this finale, there's so much footage from all these characters that we haven't seen yet, like Abomination and Titania and the people that Jen works with. And we're going to have to leave this in a place where it makes sense for another project to come and pick it up and keep telling that story. And when you throw things like Hulk into the mix, he's still off world for all we know. When's that going to come back into play? How much is this finale actually going to address, and how much is it going to leave open? Because you look at things like WandaVision, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, they really just present more questions than answers. So Hawkeye is another huge one. You're right. So Garrett, I guess my question for you is, with this finale coming up, what sort of expectations do you think they're going to set for us going forward? What kind of player do you think we can expect She-Hulk to be after this series? Because we have one episode left, and I don't know if they've made that clear for us yet.
I don't think that they have. And for me, throughout the show, I've kind of been thinking it makes a lot of sense for this to be a place to cameo a member of the Thunderbolts, because Kevin Feige at SDCC said, that when we got the team announced, it was said this is not going to be the whole team. There will be other members on the team who have not been introduced in the MCU yet. And that was before She-Hulk. So me in my crazy head was like, She-Hulk seems like a very good spot for that. And then after D23, we got more information about like Captain America, New World Order, and how that's going to have the leader, and that's going to be like have some Hulk themes tie into that. So those are the two properties that I'm really kind of betting on where this character is going in the future, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, no, and I think that's definitely a logical deduction to make is like, She-Hulk's going to pop up in places where she's relevant, and so far they've made her relevant to the Hulk themes in the MCU, and it seems like those are going to be popping up in a couple places. I love what you said about Thunderbolts, because it seems like there's a Hulk-sized piece missing on that team, and I just can't imagine that Alexei and Bucky are the strongest guys on that team. There's got to be a Hulk figure or someone like Abomination to really bring the heat and overpowered guys like that, because it's great to have a group of super soldiers, but the Avengers have a Hulk, so I love what you said about that. The fact that he said we haven't met all the characters yet still could imply there's someone else even. So that's even cooler. She-Hulk does seem like a somewhat Scar. Yeah. I mean, that's someone we thought we were going to see this whole time. I with how
post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene. That's right. It's something they haven't done in a couple weeks now, but I'm sure the finale is going to have one.
It has to.
This was
that's something I've been mad about. It's like the first 4 episodes had post-credit scenes, and then we've gotten like maybe 1 or 2 since then.
Yeah, that's so weird. Space them out.
0.
That's like one, miss a week, do the next one. Like it felt so weird to have like 3 in a row and then just none.
It was the first 4, and we literally haven't had one since.
It was literally just for screeners. They're like, we'll let the press think we'll have a post-credit scene in every episode, and then after that, nothing.
Honestly,
that's exactly how it looks. I have a question. Do you think Titania becomes Team She-Hulk because of what happens?
Personally, I think no, not yet at least. Garrett, what do you think?
I don't care.
I mean, her veneers, though.
Yeah, but once she sees that She-Hulk's been like, her privacy, like that might be like, you know what? Like,
she might be like, that
girl power, that's not cool.
Like, whoa, so you were hacked and this and that and this. That's not cool. Or it's like you were hacked and this and that, and you're a lawyer.
You should be smarter than that.
I think so. Yeah, I think I don't think Jen would be wise to trust her if that did happen.
Agreed. That's a character I just love to hate.
Redemption or not. Very easy.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that wraps up She-Hulk. Yeah,
I think so.
That means we get to finally sell JRB on this fucking glorious show called House of the Dragon. JRB, you gotta relegate down to the bottom. We are now preaching to you, young sir.
Wow.
We are your kings. We are your kings, and you must listen to us, peasant. Garrett, I'm gonna let you. Kind of run us through what you remember of this plot from this week, because I remember a funeral and a lot of fighting. And a lot of blood. And that's it. And some fire.
There was some sex.
Oh, there was some.
You can't forget that sex.
I kind of forgot about the sex. I can't lie.
Sounds
I was here for children cutting each other.
Yes. Yeah. You don't know what you're about to get into, brother.
So it opens with like a 15 to 20-minute funeral scene, kind of catching up with where every character lands, where they're all feeling what they're all going through. And then they all start branching out in their own direction, right? Laenor is just crying in the sea. That is Rhaenyra's husband there, JRB. And then it leads to Aemon going to try and get Vhagar. Daemon and Rhaenyra going to the beach and getting it on and potentially pledging themselves to each other. And then if I'm trying to remember, did they talk about marriage there or after? I think it was after. So I don't remember what the hell else is going on in that section at all, other than the discussion of Laena's, right? That was Laenor's sister, is Laena's children becoming the heirs to stepstones, right?
Yeah, actually Rhaenyra's children, because Corlys goes up to the Rhaenyra's son and says, like, you're going to be the youngest son. It says, you're going to be the king of the stepstones because your brother's going to be king. And he just looks up and gives the saddest, like, I don't want that. Because if that happens, that means everyone is dead. And you're like, this like 6-year-old just said that, and it's tearing my heart out, chucking it on the ground and stomping on it with a boot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was fun. That was just the beginning of the episode.
Oh gosh.
But later on, it's Rhaenys, his wife, Corlys's wife, who says that she wants Laena's children to be taking over the stepstones, and that would be, I believe, Baela would be in charge of that. And it comes down to, you and I both know that those boys are not of our blood. And it's like, okay, yep. They're not Valyrian. And that leads to Aemon gets Vhagar, steals Vhagar, takes Vhagar under his command, and comes back in, and the children are all like, that's my mother's dragon and whatever. And then they get in a fight because that's what kids do. And then he starts calling the Rhaenyra's kids bastards, and that leads to really going at it. I don't remember who pulled the knife, but someone pulled a bloody knife. And then eventually it gets into little boy's hands, the one who doesn't want people to die, and he slices Aemond in the face and cuts his eye out. Reminder, Aemond is literally beating the shit out of girls and children younger than him.
Two boys and 2 girls. He's like just stomping on them in this dungeon.
And he gets stomped a little bit. He gets up, he fights back, he gets his eye taken out, and that's when it all hits the fan. And Rhaenyra and Alicent are pretty much toe to toe, and Viserys, King Viserys is just sitting there yelling at everybody with
shit, here we go again.
With his peg arm over here, and he doesn't stand up for his son Aemond. He literally backs Rhaenyra. Alicent is pissed. She wants an eye for an eye to take one of the children's eyes, and it just escalates to the point of her pulling a knife and putting it at Rhaenyra's neck. And it's like, it's from the line from the trailer, now everyone sees you as you are. And sitting there, Daemon is just sitting there watching it all happen slowly. And when Alicent yells for dickhead Sir Criston Cole to come to, grab the child, we'll cut out his eye or some shit like that. Daemon walks over and grabs it. He is. He's just like, fuck these little sluts.
He's like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, he runs up. Daemon stops him right there and holds him off. And man, it gets heated. It gets tense. And then it gets super weird because Daemon and Rhaenyra marry. Niece and uncle marry. The rightful heir to the throne and the named heir to the throne. Well, not the rightful heir anymore, technically, because now he's got Aegon. The rightful heir to the throne, Rhaenyra, and the former heir to the throne, Daemon, marry now. And they do it in the old ways. They cut themselves open and bleed on each other. It's super weird. It's wicked
super
golf.
Casual. Yeah.
Super casual. They're vampires, you know what I'm saying? They've already done the dirty. And there with them are just 4 kids, but all of which have just lost a parent.
Yeah.
The 2 boys know that they're bastards, or at least have been called bastards to be like, oh, so Sir Harwin was our dad.
Yeah, they're starting to
Okay.
realize shit is up.
Yeah,
what they've been
and
told.
Damon and Lena's kids are just there like, wow, our dad is marrying his niece after our mom literally just died.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what happens at the very end. You're muted,
Oh.
big guy. Yeah, I don't even remember what happened at the end, but Garrett,
Yeah.
that's the gist. Where do you want to go?
Oh, there's
We're
so
riding
much.
your magic dragon.
There's so much to go. I think we start with the beginning. We start with the funeral, right? We have a death in the family. It's the last scene of the last episode where Lena is pregnant, and it's a similar situation to Viserys's wife, Rhaenyra's mom, in the first episode, where it's like we're gonna have to try a C-section. The baby might live, the mom is definitely not gonna live. And she says, that's not for me. I want to die a warrior's death. And she pleads with her dragon to burn her alive. It is an incredibly emotional scene. And then we start this episode with everyone, family of all shapes and sizes, the king, everyone is connected at this funeral. And it is freaking awkward, man. Nobody's talking to anybody. Like Damon and Rhaenyra are flirting. Everyone's watching each other. The vibes are just off. And like this is the episode where everything is finally gonna come out. The kid scenes is just oh yes, that I did forget. Laenor fakes his death. And okay, that brings up a question. I wanted to ask you, the boyfriend or the assassin, do we think that's his plan the entire time? Or at what point, like, because when we see the assassination happening, it is fairly convincing.
Oh, it's very convincing. Like, until he's shown pulling his hood off, I'm like, he's dead, dude. Like, I liked him. I can't believe we killed him after his sister just died. Like, what the fuck, man? But no, I think that was the plan the entire time.
Okay, me as well.
Because once they did that, and then I watched the behind the scenes thing afterwards, they have in this episode, if I'm not mistaken, Laenor and Rhaenyra have a conversation. Yes. And if they don't, they definitely had one prior. I think they have it after the fight.
He tells her, "You deserve a husband."
Yeah.
And that's what makes me think that like that he's on board with the plan.
Yeah.
I'll fake my death and leave.
Because I remember her saying you should go on the water. You should go on your war path.
Yeah.
And it goes back and forth like that. And I'm like, wow, they set this up because they're both unhappy. They both know it needs to be done, and they both have their separate journeys to go upon. And Laenor at this point doesn't care about life because he's just lost his sister. Like the only one he ever seems to have cared about is gone. Gone, man. Fucking dead. Let's talk about the kids though. Let's jump back to the kids murdering each other.
So one, let's just start off with the fact that Aemon, right? Aemon is the kid in question. Last episode, I was feeling really bad for Aemon. I was like, wow, this kid's really got the short end of the stick. He doesn't get the dragon. They're like, we have a present for you, and it's a pig dressed up as a dragon. Very fucked up. Kids are evil. And then this episode, he just grows some balls. Like, he says, there's a dragon who doesn't have a rider. It's just sleeping out here. I hear it. I don't have anything to lose. I'm not going to be the king. I'm my mom's least favorite son. The other kids pick on me. The bastard kids pick on me. Like, it is what it is. So he goes, and he, like, the scene where he walks up on the dragon, it has its fire in its throat, like ready to burn him to a crisp, and he's like, no, stop, like, and then climbs him and rides him. That is a great scene. He's hanging on by the reins, like not sitting in a saddle or anything, just like hanging on for his dear life, and then he overcomes it. And that's a really cool scene, but also a really uncool thing to do to someone who has just died and is going to be giving this animal to their children. Oh gosh, so the emotions that you feel week to week with the show, it's honestly they've done an incredible job because there's violent scenes, but it doesn't need to be as violent as Game of Thrones for us to just be enthralled.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree entirely. A lot of what's been happening, a lot of the action this season has been in the acting, like similar to Andor, as I've been saying it. The action is in the acting. And I love watching in this episode specifically how Aemond goes from this like schneebly little kid who's kind of like, nah, I'm kind of like, nah, my parents are, nah. And then he tames the dragon, and it's literally the very next thing is he's like, I'm a god, you dawn prince. And it's just like, yeah. Okay,
yeah, and then
kid.
when everyone is like, when everyone's talking too with Viserys and everything, and they end up like, he's the one that says like, I lost the eye, but it was a fair trade because I got the dragon. Like, he's the one that says that, and I hated him, but I was like, fuck, that was badass.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to remember that's a fair exchange is what it is titled.
Yeah,
and it's like that is wicked dark, dude. Like
so dark, but also really cool for like an 8-9-year-old, however old he is, to be like, God, it's gonna suck later on, but I'm also gonna have like the biggest dragon there is for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and he's, we saw the next week's preview. He's about to grow a couple of feet or more. He's about to be the tallest in the family, which is going to be exciting. JRB, you're muted.
Are they doing another time jump?
Yes.
I think it's the last time jump, right?
It is the final time jump. It's a 10-year time jump again. So we will have had 2 10-year time jumps in about 2 episode span, really.
Wow. So how many years in total is this first season covering?
25, give or take.
Holy cow. Wow.
So we had episode 1, and then episode 3 takes place 3 years later. And then I believe episode 4 is not too far after, maybe like 6 months or so, give or take. Then we have 10 years, and that's the last week's episode. And then this week's episode is like right after. Now we're getting another 10 years. So 23 to 25 years is how long. That's insane, dude. Yeah. And
has any show done that before?
I don't think so.
Not that I can think of.
Not that I can think of at all. The Crown, maybe. The Crown might do that.
Not a watcher of The Crown.
Me either.
Couldn't attest.
All I know is they just finished Princess Diana. So, yeah. And when it started, it was like World War None. So,
but that feels like the time jumps would just be in between the seasons, because you would still have to have like a regular flow for the season to make sense.
Right,
so
yeah.
Still, like in the middle of a season, this has to be the first of its kind. And it's also it's interesting because not all of the actors changed, and it's kind of jarring for me. Like,
really
seeing Sir Kristen is the same as like the last Sir Kristen.
Yeah, dude, what?
It's so jarring for me. I have no idea like the logic behind it. I don't know.
I think the logic behind it is he was already of adult age. So if you're an adult, you're not getting jumped forward. If you're a teenager, you're getting jumped forward. So that's kind of where they've gotten.
That's
so,
fair.
Rhaenyra and Alicent were the same for the first 4 episodes. And they were like 14, give or take, to 18, 19. So they, even Laenor had 3 different actors in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Or no, Laenor had three different actors across the season so far.
Oh, wow.
Rhaenyra and Alicent only have 2.
Laena had to have 3 too as well.
Laena had 3 as well. And Bela, like all the kids that we've just met, all have at least 2, and I'm not counting babies. I'm really excited to see where Helena ends up, because Helena is the seer of the family, and I want to know what she knows. Because if you remember last week,
is she like an oracle?
Yeah, you'll get a dragon. You'll have to lose an eye for it. And he gets a dragon and loses an eye for it.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Their sister. Aegon's betrothed sister.
Oh, okay. Okay, wow.
So
There
happy
it
to not
is.
be the only one totally lost on this.
I was lost there for a second, and
My bad, my bad.
I've been watching, so I was like, what the heck did I miss? That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about. Is
Okay.
their sister? She is I believe her name is Princess Helena Targaryen. She's a seer. She called it out. You're gonna have to lose an eye for it, and he did. He got a dragon, and he lost his eye for the retaliation. So I want to know what else she's seen. You know, it's gonna be interesting.
Did you see her? What would Rhaenyra and Daemon be to her? Could she have seen any of that? Because we should try to keep that away from a child's eyes.
The hold on, Dragon of the Flesh. Oh my God, she was saying it. I believe this week it was Dragon of the Flesh, Dragon of the Loom, Dragon of the something, Dragon of the Flesh, Dragon of the Loom, Dragon of the something. I'm gonna go back and rewatch them now.
So she possibly has seen.
She was speaking riddles. You know what I'm saying? And it might have been Dragon of the Flesh, Dragon of the Loom. It might have been Dragon of the Wound, actually, and not Loom. I need to go back. And if that's the case, Dragon of the Flesh, Vhagar, Dragon of the Wound, Aemond.
Wow. That's
Him and
deep. I need to start paying more attention to her because if I'm going to be honest with you, she obviously is not high on my list of characters I've paid attention to. So I need to look out for that more.
Tell. She is she's going to be played by Fia Sabin. And it looks like she's only in one episode this season. Does she die? I don't know. So here's the description for next week. It's called The Lord of the Tides. 10 years later, the sides in the House of the Dragon have been shown. Black against green, fighting for the inheritance of the throne. That's a rhyme, by the way. Shout out to the synopsis writer for that.
Banger summary right there.
Banger summary. Banger of a summary right there, sir. And it seems like Viserys finally dies.
It's about time. It's the clock has been ticking ever so quickly in all of these episodes.
Yeah.
Every episode I watch and he comes into a scene, I'm like, you lost your like they teased that you were gonna die in the second episode in like the first episode, and we're on episode like 6.
25 years later, he's finally dying.
Yo, honestly though, respect for pushing through all the ailments this long, traveling back and forth on ships and whatnot. Like, mad respect to Viserys.
I have read some stuff on the internet, which is it's like, ooh, the epic foreshadowing of this. Ooh, the foreshadowing of this. One of them is rats eating the brains of Laenor's dude from the wedding. His brain's getting bashed in, and then you see when they're getting married. Was that his name? Joffrey?
Joffrey, yeah. It's hard to forget a name like that.
See, I was trying to figure out why he named his child Joffrey.
That's why, because his boyfriend.
Okay, so his boyfriend. Well, when they're getting married, a rat comes up and starts eating his brains, and someone's like, "Oh my God, the foreshadowing of this!" And then if you saw last week, not anymore.
No, he got the shit kicked out of him
like,
by, of course, Sir Kristen.
I was about to say, I feel like you can probably put a stop to that if you just maybe give the rat a little whack. But okay, if he's
it was just the brains.
If only he had you there,
right? Yeah, like
in that situation.
I know. I wish I could have been there to give him that solid piece of advice. But sorry. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where this goes because if you watched last week when Viserys is alone and he's sitting there and he's like angry. And he looks up and sees a rat come into his room. And I was like, oh my God. I'm wondering, is Viserys going to be eaten by rats? And that's how he dies. Does he get fed to rats by his own family members?
This poor guy does not deserve that. Not deserve that. He just has been put in the worst situations ever.
Yeah, sounds like a really bad time.
Tries to do his best, but just, I feel empathy for him because I feel like I'm the kind of guy that gets in those situations where like I'm trying to do the right thing, but it just like is not. in
It's
the other
not,
person's
yeah.
eyes, and that's where he is with his daughter, with his wife for like 20 years on end. Just won't, with his brother, with his hand, everyone.
Oh my goodness!
His
How,
sons?
how many episodes are there left? How far are we?
We have 3 episodes left this season, 8, 9, and 10.
8, 9, 10.
I will say, do you know have you seen on Twitter, Garrett, the titles of the episodes?
I have not.
Do you want to know the finale's title?
Is it kind of spoilery, or is it was oh my god.
Yes.
Gonna get me hype.
It's gonna both.
It's gonna both.
It's gonna both.
Let's hear it.
The Black Queen.
No. Yes.
No. He said no.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. I saw that.
decline.
It was like after episode 5, I believe it was. Like they got posted, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I just walked through, and I'm like, ooh, the Lord of the Tides, which is this next week's episode. And it was like Driftmark, the Lord of the Tides. I don't remember what next week's episode is titled after Lord of the Tides, but I was like, oh, the finale is called The Black Queen, and I was like, oh, and Rhaenyra wears black. That's a target. Oh, everyone's gonna die.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I think what's gonna happen is as I've been told, this is gonna start the Dance of the Dragon story, where they pretty much kill all dragons, is how I've understood it.
Oh, okay. That's how this is where it comes about. Okay.
Yeah. At the
Good
very
to know.
beginning of the season, that it's like House Targaryen, the only thing that could tear us down is ourselves. And it's like, and there goes all the dragons, love.
Yeah, because they're house divided, fighting against each other. It makes a lot of sense. If I will say though, Rhaenyra, I've been on a little bit of a roller coaster with this season. Like Alicent was pretty much, she started here and steady decline the entire way. Rhaenyra, I loved, was just like so on board with her at the beginning. As she got a little bit older, like last episode before, not this one that we're talking about, but the last one, like those 2 episodes, I was like kind of done with her. Like, you're annoying me. You're doing some dumb shit. Like, you're better than this. We've seen that you're better than this. And then this episode, I'm back. Like, bang your uncle. I don't care. You can do no wrong. Kill the dragons. I'm on board. I'm back on the Rhaenyra train. So
you're back. I don't know where I land. I don't know who I'm rooting for anymore. I know I hate Otto Hightower.
Yeah, same.
I everybody that I liked, I hate. Everybody that I hated, I've kind of understood their point of view. And I'm just you know who I don't hate? Lord Corlys. I don't hate the Corlyses. I don't hate them at all. I like them. They're the only ones that I feel like are trying to do something right-ish. And it's just trying to live their lives and like do what they're supposed to do. And everybody else, like Larys, idiot. I didn't like Harwin. I never liked Sir Harwin, but the Hand, Harwin Hand, I liked him.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's dead now.
Yeah. I don't mind Viserys, to be honest.
I mean, okay, fair. I don't mind Viserys, but he's not doing anything good, which is kind of like all right, just die now, please.
Yeah, I felt that way for like, had he died in episode 2 and the story continued on as is, like, I feel like we'd still be in the same spot right now.
Really, what has he done?
He's divided the kingdom by changing heirs. And then he's tried to, and then he realized, like, all right, I kind of screwed up. And then he tried to be like a good dad to Rhaenyra. He like focused on that. That didn't really work. He focused for a while on being a good husband to Alicent. That didn't work. And so he tried to be a good king, but he was just like, he's like one of those presidents that just like is a president. Like, they didn't do anything great. They didn't do anything terrible. They just held it up.
He's a placeholder king.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love how it's mentioned, like, will they remember me? What will I be remembered for? You'll be remembered for tearing down your own house.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, that's a deep legacy right there. That is, and the greatest house that has ever lived on anywhere as well, too.
Dude, it's gonna be absolutely insane. Who's your favorite character right now as it stands?
Oh, man. I like a lot of them for different reasons. I would say hard not to root for the Valarians, really, because Corlys has spent the entire duration of the show just trying to win. He's trying to do things for his wife because he knows that she should have been queen and it was taken from under her. So he's spent like his entire life trying to make that up to her. And obviously that came to a head in this episode where she's like, dude, I came to terms with that a long time ago. Now you're just like making things difficult. But it comes from a place of like, you were wronged and I need to make this right. And he knows Rhaenyra's kids aren't his. And he's still like, they're still my blood. They're still my family. I still want what's best for them. Laena and Laenor, both great. Like, I can't say anything bad about the house. Gotta say, whole house Velaryon is the favorite for me.
Okay, that is fair. That's a good one. That's good. I honestly, after this episode, I'm kind of team Aemond just for right now. Like kid. The kid went through more character arc in one episode than some characters have this entire season. And if there's one character that I fear the most right now, other than Rhaenyra and Daemon, it's him.
Yeah,
I want Daemon and Aemond. Oh my God. Yeah, they have the same name. Daemon Aemond. Yeah, Daemon and Aemond have the same name, but the D is on the different side of the name.
That is. I
want them to fight because they got the chins, man. They've got those chins, man. The chin. I can't wait to see them fight. I wonder who wins. Aemond. I'm gonna go with the younger blood.
That's fair. I think we've seen Daemon get bested a few times when he's a little bit too cocky. So I see that. Someone I think I hate, Aegon. That dude's just, and not even for a particular reason, because he's just out there living his life. Like, he's not a Joffrey. Joffrey was doing the same things that Aegon was doing, but like hurting people and like actually being an asshole. But this dude's just like getting hammered, jerking off onto people walking under his window, casual teenager things.
Big Homelander.
But I hate him.
Yeah, I feel that. He's just living life, and he's just a dick.
Could be worse, but definitely could be a lot better.
I like how it's weird to me that when we saw the actors for like who they become, Aegon looks nothing like what you'd expect him to grow into. Like, he's got this like chiseled feature, and then he grows and he looks a little like it's a little snivelly, and then we've got like a rounded young Aemond, and he grows into the chiseled, tall, don't fuck with me. I mean, the eye patch totally helps.
Yeah, that definitely is an immediate sign of like, I have been through some shit.
I am the one. I can't wait. Next week we will we will, as long as schedules work out, probably have we're sending out the semi signal to get Ethan Simi on for She-Hulk, and I'm gonna try and get somebody else on for House of the Dragon as we chart forward through the final couple of weeks here that we've got going on. So this next episode is episode 8, yeah, and then 9. Oh boy, so we have 2 more weeks. We have 3 weeks from today of this show, because next week wraps She-Hulk, and it'll be episode 8 of House of the Dragon, and then we have an episode 9 to do and an episode 10. Episode 10 will be Nathan Johnson. He will come on. We will wrap House of the Dragon with the man who has read the stuff and can point us into a trajectory of where this season is supposed to go after the season ends. I don't know who we're gonna get on in between, man. I gotta find some more peeps that have watched House of the Dragon, because JRB is yet to watch it. I'm sorry for peaking my audio right there, everybody, but it's true.
I do it once an episode too. It's okay.
Good.
Now I have to get in on the fun.
This is now an ASMR podcast.
You're welcome.
This was a 2-hour prelude to the next hour segment, ASMR with Lights Thunder Action.
We're just gonna beatbox. That has been House of the Dragon. It's so fucking good. God dang it. I can't believe Garrett, you're watching Andor, right?
I'm watching Andor. I'm watching Lord of the Rings. I'm watching all. We're in an age of shows right now, a golden age.
I'm sorry to break your heart. I'm not a Rings guy.
Hey, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
It's an
But
acquired taste.
you can't deny that what they're doing is pretty crazy over there with that show.
I've not seen it.
Well,
so I can't confirm nor deny.
The budget.
Oh, the budget,
dude.
The budget is everything I've seen from it is gorgeous. It's sexy, and I want to watch it, but I know that I'm not going to enjoy it the same way as I would if I were like deep into the Rings.
Just know that it's a really well-made show, regardless of if it wouldn't interest you because of the lore. It is like the shows that we have right now are such high quality that even just this year that we've gotten.
So that leads me to my question. What your top 2 shows that you are craving each week as soon as the episode ends? You can only pick 2.
That is ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna have to go with Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, because I am a big Lord of the Rings guy, and it's been super exciting for me to get back into it. My girlfriend has had several boyfriends in the past try to get her into it, and she's like, I can't do Lord of the Rings. It sucks. I'm not going to do it. I've got her into it. The show got her into it. We've now watched the movies, so it's like it's done a lot for me. So I got to put that at my number 1. But boy, the fight for number 2 between Andor and House of the Dragon is to the death right now, because I'm not an Andor fan. Like, I love Rogue One. Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars projects of all time, but Andor, the character, was one of my least favorite aspects of that movie. So upon like the announcement of the show, I was like, damn it, I'm not gonna like this. But I am sucked into every episode. The outfits are unreal. It is like, I want to be Mon Mothma's husband. I want to be wearing his his garb, because it is so cool. Man, I'm gonna have to go with Andor. Talking about the fits is the spy thriller, like the action without the action that we're getting, like you talked about earlier. It's superb, and Diego Luna's passion for this show is palpable. So it's gotta be Andor.
Absolutely. I love it because, when House of the Dragon started, I was like, I'm craving this on a level I've not craved Marvel shows or the previous Star Wars shows. And when Andor started, I realized I was craving Andor at a level I haven't craved any of those either. And I'm like, it's Andor and it's House of the Dragon, because what they're doing in an episode is giving me an entire story, setting us up for the next leg of the story. And then when it ends, I'm upset that when I go back and rewatch it, I'm just going to be more amped to watch it next week. Whereas sometimes I watch another episode, like I'll watch She-Hulk over and over and be like, She-Hulk, I can wait. I'm cool to wait to next week. Like, I love having it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a sitcom. That's how I feel with sitcoms. But with dramas like Mando, I'm here. I want to know what's happening, but I can watch it a couple different times and be satiated for the week. This is not satiating me. It is making me more anxious, wanting it more and more and more, and it does not help. It's Andor, House of the Dragon. I think that's really, I think that's really telling with how good Andor is, considering that it's being compared with, for you, it's stuck between House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. And I've heard a lot of people say the same thing on Rings of Power. Like, it ends and you're craving the next episode. Yeah. And we have Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and then it's Game of Thrones. Those are the 3 big IPs that really started this kind of trend of long form storytelling. Star Wars back in the 70s, Lord of the Rings, reinvented that with Guillermo del Toro in my childhood. I don't know what years those were. I guess the same years as Star Wars, give or take. The prequel,
like 2003-ish.
Yeah, so somewhere in that ballpark. And then Game of Thrones reinvented it again in what I guess it started in 10, right? Yeah. And it's like it happens and it seems to repeat. And now all 3 are just taking the ball and chucking it in a catapult forward with continuing the legacy. And nerds, dude.
Firing on all cylinders.
It's amazing. JRB, what about you? Which one are you craving to watch each week?
Well, I'm not watching 3 out of the 4 shows that you just mentioned. So She-Hulk has been the show that I've been looking forward to each week, just because, and I think I've said this every week since you described it this way, but when you look at She-Hulk like a Saturday morning cartoon, it really is like the perfect Marvel show, because it's that dive into the MCU that we've all been craving, where we want to know how the real world works outside of these superhero adventures. And I think She-Hulk has given us the best look at that so far. Even though it's not as captivating as the other Marvel entries, I think She-Hulk really is bringing me in week to week, because we get to see such a unique take on the world that we've been in since 2008. And we really get a nice perspective of what it's become and what we can expect from it going forward. So I know there's a lot of epic medieval shows out right now, but She-Hulk is actually the one that I've been enjoying the most lately.
To tack onto that, like just a bit, all 3 of those shows, like Andor, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, are all like really heavy. Have a lot of like, especially House of the Dragon, like incest and murder and all this stuff, and Andor with freedom and equality. There's a lot of heavy hitting stuff going on in those shows, so it's really nice to have She-Hulk to break it up every week.
Yeah.
Just have a little fun.
Yeah, you're right, and it does still sort of involve the hard hitting topics, but it's not so much in your face as it is for something like Game of Thrones, where you're witnessing a C-section multiple times in one season, it sounds like. So She-Hulk is definitely a nice refresher when compared to those.
So hopping back into the comments really quick to round us out. Here I am turning into Luthen Rail again. Terry McIver,
the best part of the show.
Oh my God, that hair piece. It's never seen a toupee that good in my life. Gotta agree with Garrett on this one. Andor and Rings of Power for me. He says, Terry McIver, Rings of Power is an escape back into Middle Earth for him. He says Star Wars Andor is very much hitting reality for him. As crazy as it sounds, the events and little details are much closer to home of Northern Ireland. And he started mentioning this when he hopped in, that's very much exactly what's happened in Northern Ireland. Is something happens and it's just a spinning motion of, oh, well, now we're coming in because one person did something and we're going to kill you. Beep, bop, boop. Much like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica. And then he rounds it out by saying 3rd and 4th for him, though, is definitely She-Hulk and the Mighty Ducks. Hey, cool. I didn't know the Mighty Ducks were back.
I didn't either.
Me neither. I'm a Ducks fan. I love the Ducks.
Spaghettios. Garrett, where can everyone find you on social media, my guy?
Oh, all right. You can find me on social media at Real Slim Blaney on Twitter, or at the Real Slim Blaney on Instagram. And of course, you can find me on the Agents of Fandom socials. So that's at Agents Fandom on Twitter and at Agents of Fandom on everything else. And boys, thank you so much for inviting me on. We don't talk about House of the Dragon on our podcast, so it's been so nice to finally like air some thoughts about it. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I agree. I've been talking to a wall of John Ross Bradford for 6 weeks now about this show and just like ranting, basically trying to remember what happened. And it's great to finally talk about it. I can't wait to continue on as this show just ramps up insanity as we go forward. JRB, where can everyone find you on the socials?
You can find me at JRB_direct on Twitter and Instagram, also on Serialized and Letterboxd, pretty much anywhere where you can find me writing about the stuff I love the most, JRB_direct.
You can find me on Twitter at TCRochesterACT. That is TCRochesterACT. And, you know, Reckless Rebellion every week. Star Wars, you like the Andor talk? We're going deep into the Andor talk. This week, we did a game. It was a very fun game. We picked 3 directors that we wanted to see work in Star Wars, and some of us broke the rules and picked creators and then just said whoever wants to direct this story would be fine. Maybe I used Band of Brothers as reference. Winky face. That brings us to the recommendations for the audience. JRB, what do you got this week?
I have what is probably my favorite comedy special of the year as my recommendation this week. And surprisingly enough, it comes from Nick Kroll. On Netflix, his new special, Little Big Boy, is probably the funniest most hilarious comedy stand-up special I've seen this year. You know, I'm a pretty avid stand-up guy. I really like checking out all the different comedians. And when I saw Nick Kroll's name pop up, I thought, I don't think I've seen him in a stand-up setting, so I'll try it out. And I was doubled over laughing the whole time. So if you want a good laugh, Nick Kroll on Netflix, Little Big Boy is the name of his latest special. Check it out.
Garrett, what about you?
Yeah, I've been watching a show called Reboots. I got screeners for that a while ago, and it's now coming out, and it is a super meta, super funny, super awesome show. Starring Keegan-Michael Key, Johnny Knoxville, and Judy Greer, and it hits. I enjoy it a lot. It's on Hulu.
I am going to recommend Werewolf by Night. That comes out tomorrow because I don't have anything else. I have been working and not watching anything.
Good.
You've seen it, right?
I saw it. Yeah, it's so
jealous. So jealous.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm a spooky season kind of guy. I was born at the beginning of October, just leading us off into the scariest realms of imaginable. That's not a sentence. That's how scary it is. We don't even grammar in October.
Us Libras.
We don't grammar. We make the words up as we go. Spooky season's here. I'm going to shout out that. Oh, Hocus Pocus 2. I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things. So
I enjoyed it.
You want to know what I got to say about Hocus Pocus 2? This one name, Christina, I think her name is on the internet.
Christina Gooch.
Yeah, it's 100% like casting spells on you. So, I mean, at that case, I have superpowers now. So if you want to have spells cast on you, yeah, I'm mocking her. I know I shouldn't because that's rude, but hey, I'm going to do it because it's the Harry Potter witch hunt. It's literally just a witch hunt on television, and they want to ignore so many other things going on in the world, and that's what they want to complain about.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly. This is the point where you find out you fuck around this much, you find out this much. She's fucked around. You have found out. Hocus Pocus 2. Go watch it. I've heard great things. We circled back. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, we've reached the end of the show. You're welcome. I know you're begging us to stop talking. As always, there could be no show without the Iron Man variant. To the bottom of the screen, world-famous journalist John Ross Bradford bringing a needed eloquence and wit to this series. JRB, will you watch House of the Dragon?
Haven't convinced me yet.
Son of a bitch.
Damn it.
There's always next week. Thank you to Terry McIver for hanging out with us in the comments here and following along and producing the show behind the scenes. Thank you to the HWWS WebTV family for supporting us and carrying us on the network. Most importantly, thank you to our fans that join us weekly, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or listening via Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or Spotify. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
Please be sure to like, be sure to follow, subscribe, drop us a comment, leave us a review, give us 5 stars, but only if you think we are worthy.
As always, I'm TCR.
I am JRB.
And I'm Garrett Blaney.
Hey, thank you for joining episode 103 of Lights Thunder Action. We shall see you next time.